Hello and welcome to a new series of Today You Learned. A new topic that we have for you today is called Advanced Phishing, and the first episode on this is on Evilginx2 version 3. So what is the idea? Let's first introduce a little bit of what is phishing. It means looking for information at the individuals themselves, of course. So usually this means we are phishing, we are looking for authentication details or banking details. And the most common target up until today is just we want to get the username or password. As a very simple example, this is how it looks like, right? So we dive directly into the phishing. This is an example of a phishing email. myuniversity.edu is of course not a real university. So this is clearly not the correct email. And they want to phish, they want you to click on something, and once you click on that link, you get a sign-in page. In this instance, in this example, it is clearly a sign-in page for Gmail, for Google. But as you can see at the top, the URL is not Google. So this is a clear giveaway that this is phishing. It's actually the only important giveaway that this is phishing. They can do with the email whatever they want. They can do with the URLs whatever they want. But the login pages, the URL on top of the login pages, usually in a phishing looks like this. You expect, of course, this to be gmail.com or google.com. But in this case, it isn't. So this is a clear giveaway. So this was regular phishing. The thing I want to talk about is how this works. So you have the victim who clicked the link, who received the email or via WhatsApp or LinkedIn or something else. And then they click on a link and the link brings them to a server owned by the hacker. So the hacker is running the web page. The adversary is running the web page. So it's not the real web page that you see. It's a copy of the web page. That's regular phishing. What changes now, what is advanced, if you want to call it advanced, of course, that people or the hackers are no longer looking for usernames and passwords, because it is clear that a lot of people use something called two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. But they want not the username and password because it's not that useful anymore. They want to get your cookies. So instead of victim clicking the link and just getting the web page of a copy of the web page, they are looking at still a server owned by the hacker, but the hacker is actually sitting in the middle between the official authentic web page from the server, so the real Gmail, for example, the real Google, the real Facebook, the real Outlook, the real Office 365. But the hacker is actually showing the actual web page, but it's intercepting everything you send to it. So all your details are being sent to the hacker, and he is just forwarding it to the real web page. This way, he is able to always show the web page that you expect. And so he can see not only username and password, but also all the cookie details. The cookies are, of course, the browser configuration details that the browser keeps or uses, stores to keep track of your authenticated sessions, and with that session he can immediately log into your system or just access your system. He actually bypasses the login phase because you already did that. It might come clear if I do the demo. So the advanced phishing, so the example I just showed you, looks like this, exactly the same. We have exactly the same phishing email, we have exactly the same login page, but instead of being a copy of Gmail, it's the real Gmail, but it is being sent via the hacker. The hacker makes some adjustments, some changes to the web page, and it's of course still visible by the URL. It's not the real Gmail that you see, so the way of noticing this kind of phishing is still the same. So this is the most obvious message. So let's dive without further ado into the demo of Evilginx2, and I will show, or try to show at least, most if not all the phases of the hacking. So to get into this, first we have to decide what domain we will use for our phishing. I am currently the owner of insecurity.be, so let's just use that one. We will phish a victim using his Gmail account, and we will try to fake an outlook.com login page, for example. So an easy part to do to start with is we need some servers to run on. I'm not going to run this on my home system. So this is an example of an environment called DigitalOcean, where you can create something called droplets. So we can create a droplet. It's very simple, very easy, and most importantly, very cheap. So I like Debian, doesn't really matter what you want. I like the cheaper one, and this is more than enough, because the only thing it will have to do is load a web page, and that's it. Just load a web page and store some details. It will be very short. Phishing campaign could be a week, could be 2 weeks. So it will not even cost us that much, as you can see here. And then we can create. It will be pretty quick. So it is being created, as you can see here. I created already one earlier today, and set to of course, prepare this demonstration. And as you can see here, as soon as it is created, it's a container-based environment, it will get a public IP address. I also configured my SSH details. So if I go to the hacking environment, so on the right side we have our hacker, I should be able to log into the system as soon as it is completed starting up. So apparently it's not completely booted yet. So let's give it a couple of seconds. In the meantime, let me introduce you to our victim. So on the left side, we have our victim, who is called Jules Crapule. You will notice that further on in the demonstration. So this is a regular, completely up-to-date Windows environment, and he is currently logged into his Gmail, but he also has access to other systems, for example, to his Hotmail should work, and other systems as well. Let's see if this has already started. It looks like it. And now we are in a completely vanilla new system, and we can start installing 2 tools. We need 2 tools for this phishing demonstration. First, let me install some tools that will support the 2 major tools. The 2 major tools are Evilginx2, of course, being the demo, and a patched version of something called GoFish. So GoFish, it's written like this, GoFish, is actually a very common tool to do regular phishing. The regular phishing, as I showed in the first slides, is usually done, or a lot of the times it's done with GoFish or something similar. So now I am getting the newest version. It's the version from this guy who is also the creator of the Evilginx3. So it's the same version as a regular GoFish, but changed very slightly. You can still use it normally. So now we have to unzip it, of course. GoFish is actually very simple. It's written in Go. And the only thing that matters, or the most important thing that matters, is the GoFish executable. So running it is very simple. We just run it like this. But to make sure that I can run multiple things at the same time, I will launch a screen. So now I can run this. And that's it. GoFish is running. We need, of course, the default password that has been generated during this phase, so we can log in. As you can see, it is running on localhost. It's not running publicly, so I will not be able to just open my browser to the public IP address. So what I also need to do is I will just detach it. This means it's still running. I will actually exit, and I will create something called the port forward, to maybe even simpler, like this, and then make sure that I can access it. Let's see if this works, because yes, okay, so it looks fine. So this means that on this local host, or local port at least, I am now running the GoFish service. So everything that is accessible on my localhost 443 will be forwarded to this IP address and port, corresponding port. In short, I should be able to do this. And now we are actually opening the GoFish admin page running on the server on the internet, right? So we need that password, that default password. Just making sure that I have the right one. So it's the admin password, like this. I need a new one, so let's configure one. Like this, okay. And now we are logged in, so GoFish has been configured completely. So creating a phishing campaign, for those who have never done it, it's fairly simple. Here you see actually the most common terminologies for creating a phishing campaign. Let's start with sending profile. Sending profile is what email server or mail server you want to use to send your emails. It's fairly simple to have one, because we can just use something free called SendGrid. SendGrid is actually a public mail server that you can use for free for phishing or other things. The only limit with the free one is that you have only 100 emails that you can send every day. So that might be an issue. So I could just type this in, and then the SMTP form, I need to configure that once only in SendGrid, but then I can use this mail server for all kinds of phishing campaigns. It's a secure one, it's 587, so it means it's a secure SMTP environment. And then of course we need login details, which I will not show out loud. Yeah, this is not important. And maybe send a test email to verify that it arrives just from here, which you could do then, of course. Okay, so this means that our GoFish now has a web server, or a mail server at least, to use to send phishing emails. The next one is called landing pages, and the landing page is actually the web page that you see if you click on a link in an email, for example. So the landing page would be the login page of Facebook, the login page of Office 365, the login page of Gmail. This is the only thing of GoFish that we do not have to configure now, because this is actually what Evilginx will do for us. So we can leave that as is. What we do need here is an email template. Email template actually means that we have to generate an email, and that we have to specify how the email will look like. What do we want to be in the email? It's a password change or a different notification. So we can click on new templates. This is just a name, not so important. Who do we want to send it as? So from who is the email coming? The CEO, the HR department, or just no reply? It's also a lot of fun. And then we need a subject. I actually prepared a little bit of something for that. So for a subject, for example, let's say that my victims are both Dutch and English speaking. So I created a vacation proposal. I already prepared an HTML version of the email. So let's copy paste that in. So this is an HTML of the email. If I click on source, we can see how it looks like, vacation planning. So the idea is that in order to avoid simultaneous vacations, we need our customers, our victims, to open SharePoint to configure their vacations for the coming weeks and months, right? And we want to create the set of urgency. That's why we have entered a deadline here. So everyone knows I don't have to wait. I should quickly log into SharePoint to be able to configure this, right? So this is also interesting. Add tracking image. This allows GoFish to detect that an email has been received, opened, the link has been clicked, and then even details from, that's not a tracking image anymore, but seeing if details are submitted, data are submitted, things like that. Okay, so let's save this template. So now we have our email template ready. You can of course configure many more. Another one that we want is to, who do we want to send it to? We can import like 400 users if we want. I only want to do send out one single email, for example, to this guy. So this is our victim, his Gmail account. So now we have created a list of users, and every detail that you see here, first name, last name, position, we can use as a parameter, as a variable inside the email template if we choose so, if we want to. So hi Jule, hi Mr. Krupul, things like that. We can do that if we want. And then a campaign, but for that we will actually first probably need to configure and install even Evilginx, or Evilginx it's called. So this is still our GoFish that is running in a screen. I will now create a new page in the screen, or in the screen application, and we will create a new folder where we can put our Evilginx details. So again, this is actually a zip file that I can download. Should be fairly quick. We can again unzip it, and then we can make sure that, as you can see, it does not contain a lot. Actually, this is just an executable, once again, written in Go. But the fun part is, the landing pages that we want, there have already been pre-built landing pages that we can use from the internet. So there's a nice, clean repository on GitHub from this guy, Bakarian, who has... I already have a little bit too much details. So called Bakarian, and we will put it in a temp folder. So this will now get templates for Evilginx2 for different landing pages. So there are some issues with this, issues in the sense that some bugs are found in the YAML pages because it's YAML. So the Coinbase is there, but it does not work really well, and Twitter. So to avoid seeing error messages in Nginx, I'll just remove them. So now that I've removed them, I can copy all these templates, these fishlets templates, into the official ones from Evilginx. Okay, so a landing page is actually called a fishlet, and now we can start Evilginx like this. So it has loaded all the fishlets. It has configured something called a blacklist mode. More on that in a minute. The default HTTPS port has been set. Some details. This is because I have not disabled the built-in DNS server, but that's actually not needed for a phishing campaign. And then here you can see the list of default built-in fishlets that we just downloaded and imported. Right. Okay, so that's very interesting. So let's maybe start by configuring the external IP address, because we need to know what the external IP address is so that we can have a landing page that works, and that we can configure SSL, because it will also take care of TLS certificates for us. So to be able to do that, I first, this is the command, and then first I need the public IP address, which is actually here, right, like this. Copy this back into this system. So now we configured in Evilginx that this is our public IP address. Config domain to configure the insecurity domain. So it knows that that is the root domain for all the login pages. And then we can configure something called blacklist, and blacklists is actually a default system. So by default, the internet is being scanned for fake websites. That's how browsers know that a website is probably a phishing website, because it's showing a login page and it's not supposed to show that login page. So it does that randomly. And this blacklist configuration means that if some scanner passes by and wants to see the login page, it will just show a blacklist mode. So it just show you are not welcome here, and then add that IP address that's used by the scanner to a blacklist. And we might see a lot of issues or messages that these blacklists have been happening. So we can disable the log output, otherwise the entire screen will fill up with log outputs of the blacklist in action, of the IP addresses being blocked. Okay, the next one that we need is to configure the connection with GoFish. So it will talk back and forth with GoFish. So config GoFish. So it needs the URL. In case we run GoFish on a completely different host, then we of course need to configure this differently, but in this case it's just running locally. That HTTPS is self-signed, so we need to configure GoFish that the flag insecure is true, so that it will not complain about HTTPS being self-signed. And then we need an API key, so an API key, we need to find that API key, which is of course in account settings, where we can find the API key like this and like this. So that's that, and now you want to test if you can actually connect to GoFish, and that's it. So the connection with GoFish is done, Evilginx is completely configured. Now we can configure our landing page. And a landing page in the terminology of Evilginx is actually called a fishlet. So we can, for example, have some details by just specifying fishlets outlook. And then it shows that it is disabled and currently visible. If you want to hide it, we can do that. We can set a host name, for example. Host name outlook and then insecurity.be. Okay, so now it's, if we look at the details, the host name is set. So this means that Outlook is running on insecurity.be. That's what this means. It needs to show the URL or use the URL insecurity.be. However, if I now try to enable it, because it's disabled, if I want to enable this, as soon as I try to do that, it will try, I can show you, right, enable. It will try to generate SSL certificates, but this of course only works if outlook.insecurity.be and some others actually redirect via DNS to the IP address, the public IP address of Evilginx. If you want to know which they is used, you can always have a look at the YAML file, or on GitLab it looks like this. So it needs 3 subdomains: outlook.insecurity.be, login.insecurity.be, and account.insecurity.be via DNS. All 3 of these need to point to the public IP address of Evilginx. Okay, that's something that I prepared beforehand, before the demo, as you can see, but I did it for this IP address. So so it's a different droplet, it's a different server, where I did exactly the same as the things I just showed you. So let me open that up as well. So this is the new droplet, and this is the old droplet. We're actually already in Evilginx right now. So if I go to Fishlets, it's actually now seeing that Outlook is enabled. So it has the proper SSL certificate for Outlook, and it has that configured correctly. Another thing that we have is lures. If I have a look at lures, that means it generates a path, a unique path, where for that campaign this is generated. Why is a lure important? Because we still have to start up our phishing campaign, of course. So let's do that. So we created a lure for the phishing Outlook. This actually generates the full URL that we will need in our phishing email. So we already did that, but I can create a new one if you want. Looks like this. If we now look at lures, we have 2 of them. And if we do a get URL for one, for example, this is the full URL. So this is actually something that I need for my phishing campaign. So I already generate, it's exactly the same. So let's maybe take this one. I know this one works for sure. Copy selection. And let's go back into our GoFish. And now we are actually completely ready to start a new phishing campaign. And it's very simple. I just create new campaign, my first campaign. I'm actually using the wrong GoFish, I think, but I'm not sure if it matters. But no, okay, let's see what happens. So here, as you can see, it says Evilginx lure URL. This would then be the URL that is used inside the email for clicking on the link. Right. So we have our profile that we configured beforehand, and we have our group where we can select 20 users, 100 users, whatever we have imported. If the launch date is currently, if we want to set it in the future, of course we can do that. And if you, this is another date, if you have, for example, a launch date at tomorrow at 4 o'clock and then send mails tomorrow by 5 o'clock, it will distribute all the emails evenly between 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So this helps to distribute your emails evenly. FYI. So, but this is the most important one. So now we will get an email and the URL will actually point, the login URL, to this URL. And then of course with extra parameters added so that we can define the users, that we can identify the users. So the phishing campaign has been sent. So to this single user currently, and this is the dashboard for an email campaign, should be campaign of course. Small mistake. So we have sent 1 email or 100 and nobody has opened it yet. The email should be sent and delivered to this mailbox. Downside, send grids might take 1 or 2 or 3 minutes for delivering that email that we just sent. So it might take a couple of minutes before we see it here. Luckily, already prepared a little bit. This is how it looks like. So this is our victim. The victim now receives the email and it looks like this. So if you click or if you look, hover, you can see in the bottom left, if you can clearly see it, you can see that there has been a new, that the URL is actually going to outlook.insecurity.be. And I just have seen that there's a new message. So if we go back to the inbox, we have now 2 emails, the older one and the one from 0 minutes ago. So let's look at that email, I hope. No, yeah, okay, it works. So this is the new email 0 minutes ago. If I refresh this, the chances are it should say email opened, but it might take again a couple of minutes before it shows that. And it now goes to the new URL. So let's click on it. Let's see what happens. So as expected, we are now seeing outlook.insecurity.be. And I actually probably made a mistake. Let's open it up. It has used cookies that were previously there. So yeah, this is typical for live demos, of course. So if I go back into my Gmail like this, I now open the phishing mail once more and then click on it. Normally you should be seeing a login page, right? So this is the important one. The login page that we see right here is now not, it looks like from Microsoft, it looks from Outlook, but it is not really Outlook. It's login.insecurity.be. So it's extremely clear that this is actually a phishing, right? But once again, let's just enter our password that I will not show, but you will see it in a minute. So this is the password, for example. Just as an example, there should be MFA, but because I was already logged into this browser, the MFA is actually bypassed. Maybe let's make it a little bit more fun for you and just copy the URL, copy the link to a new one. We're already fished, so it's already game over, so it doesn't really matter that much. So now we get the full experience, like this, and then as you can see, it's an MFA state. Let's have a look at my secrets, like this. Okay. Signed in, and I'm signed in. The funny part is, since it's an adversary in the middle kind of attack, it actually works. I'm actually seeing my emails, and if you clearly look, you can see that the URL is actually still outlook.insecurity.be, because we're actually still on the server of the hacker, but the hacker is actually connected in the backend to the real servers of Microsoft in this case, and it is showing me just my emails as I expect them to. So, okay, that's very fine. Let's have a look at how it looks like from the hacker side. And it has intercepted the authorization tokens from this user, this password. If I look at sessions, I will probably have multiple, but the last time I actually did the full authentication, so it was captured right here. And if I want to see more details, I think I just have to specify it like this. So these are all the details, username, password, and then we have our cookies. So if I were, as a hacker, try to connect with a username password, it will not work because MFA is enabled. However, I can bypass this by just copy the selection, opening my Firefox, and just to be clear, again in private, and let's open to Hotmail, or go to Hotmail at least to show you that I'm currently not logged in any way. Right, okay, clear. So I have a cookie editor. It's a free plugin or an extension where I can just copy paste that cookie. Now I'll go back to Hotmail. And as you can see, I'm logged in, so phishing worked. And with this, I would say thank you for the attention and keep learning.